Hello, everyone. I'm live now, Diane Canfield, and you can access me on my website also, which is dianecanfield.com. I'm waiting for a few people to get on here. There we go. I have the bright, cloudy sky shining in my eyes, so my eyes are like very small looking right now. All right, I have a couple people joined. Still waiting for other people. There we are. Sixtina. Hello. Belinda, hi. Nice. Oh, like your little alien head. Very nice. Special place in my heart for aliens, as everyone knows. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Grace. All right, we're going to wait for a few more people to show, but to show up, but I want to show some of the things that I got while I was in Sedona last time on my last trip. This is a smoky quartz crystal. You can see it's nice and big. Smoky quartz is great for grounding and also enhancing your psychic abilities. Okay, so also remember, you can have small or you can have big, but big is going to have more power. Then I also got a rose quartz crystal. This is a pretty big one. And this is called the love crystal. So I use this in my healings. And if you want to find a new relationship, you can use this rose quartz to help you find a new love relationship. It can have so many other things, but I'm not going to get into it right now. It could help many, many other things. Hi, Joan. Hi. From Sedona, since you're in Sedona. Hi, Ricardo. Belinda, what have you been using for the last 7 days? Yeah, I love the rose quartz too. Chantal. This is not the only one I have. I have quite a few of them. This is just the biggest one. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Paula. It's nice to have a lot of followers that I recognize that come to my page all the time. Star followers, I would call them. How many people do I have on there now, do you think? Hi, Shelley, again.
It's up there. 40.
That's it?
Look over there.
Okay. Oh, 42. Okay, we have 42 people on now. Not everybody said hi. You should all say hi. Don't be so shy. Be a little more outgoing. I have my assistant here who's helping me, and she's going to be asking the questions that you're asking, and also asking questions that you already asked. So that was on my post earlier today. There we go. Now we're getting more people saying hi. There we are. Right, don't be shy. Try not to be so shy in life. Oh, hi, Al. Nice to see you. You're here in Florida also. Try not to be so shy in life because we're not on a planet all by ourselves. There's a reason that we're on a planet with a bunch of other people, and that's because other people can help us with so many other things. So the more outgoing you are toward others, the more they can be outgoing back toward you. The more you can make them feel comfortable, the more they'll feel comfortable around you. Oh, Scotland. We have the entire world here. India, Scotland. Australia. Wow, you have the entire world on today. Okay, first I'm going to start talking. So first I want to talk about the current Ascension symptoms that are going on. About 2 days ago, I started with, it started for me having intense back pain. And I have heard this now from about 5 other people. I don't know how many people are experiencing this, but my back hurt so bad yesterday that I had to take painkillers and things and put ice on it, and I could almost barely walk. So that wasn't good. And extreme tiredness we're also having right now. So you get up in the morning, you might have energy for like 2 or 3 hours, and then you're tired again, which is not fun either. So now we can get Ascension symptoms at any time. Nothing needs to be going on. There isn't any planets that need to be happening. Anything else happening, we can get Ascension symptoms at any time. So yeah, Belinda, right. Back pain again, right. Shoulder pain, right. My shoulder has been hurting a little bit also. Okay. So now I want to, so let me know, like in the comments, what kind of symptoms you're experiencing, and if when we scroll through, we can also talk about that. Yeah, the back pain is in the lower back, and then with mine, it goes all the way up to my spine and to my neck. Yeah, and then for the past week, extreme tiredness. Okay, so I want to talk about, on my last live video, I talked about that we were in the process of changing dimensions. And what does changing dimensions mean? Okay, what happens is when we change dimensions, many of us rise to a different level, a higher level of consciousness. And when we're in the higher level of consciousness, more things can become apparent to us, and we can work through more layers of the issues that we've already been working on. And when you work on one issue within yourself, then you continue, as we rise dimensions, to work on the other layers as they come through. And as we move dimensions, the more layers become apparent. And this is because as we move dimensions into the higher dimensions, we then have more access to what is real, to what is truth, and to the creator. And this brings more things to light. So as more things come to light, then more things can come to light, because with more light is accessible. So just like all the disclosures that are happening now with the dark side, this is all coming more to light. And this is every time we change dimensions, like we just did a few weeks ago, that I wrote on my, that I talked about in my live video, I mean, then more things keep coming to light. And as we move higher, more things will come to light until we finally reach a certain stage where we'll be nothing but in the truth and connected with the creator. And that is our goal in Ascension, is to keep rising higher and higher into the higher dimensions with our consciousness. Now, in order to do this, we have to discard everything that is not of a higher dimension, which would be false information or not the truth. And as you become more used to residing in higher dimensions, you'll automatically know what is the truth and what is not the truth. And if it doesn't resonate with you and you don't feel good about it, then discard it, and then only follow things that you do feel good about and that do resonate. So what happens when we change into higher dimensions is things become possible that were not possible before. This is what happens. So this is what's happening to all of us now. Things are becoming possible that weren't possible before. And this also has to do with manifestations. So things are manifesting easier. Manifesting becomes quicker, and whatever you desire can come into your life a lot faster, a lot easier, and without much effort put into it. All right. Was there? Okay. So I'm going to get to the questions that you guys are asking, but first we're going to ask the other questions after I continue to talk about what the other things that I want to talk about. Okay, so we're still in the Mandela effect, like I talked about before in my last video, and this has to do with people dying and coming back to life, circumstances changing, and timeline jumping. And not only can people die, but circumstances can change. So you might have heard of an event happening in the past, maybe when you were growing up, and now the event seems to be totally different. So no, you're not losing your mind. This has to do with timeline jumping, and this has to do with changing dimensions and the Mandela effect taking place. So what you have to try to do is try to remember what it was, what you heard the first time, and what was taught to you the first time, and how now that is changing. And this is how the Mandela effect and takes place, is that timelines are always changing. So if you can't remember the old timeline, you're not going to know that the new timeline is taking place. So for instance, I can, just as an off thing, I can look at a still picture on the wall, and the picture can actually change. I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but I can look at a picture one time, then look at the picture again, and the picture will change. So it's a still picture that's up on the wall. So now I want to get to something that was just said on here. Belinda. Okay, Belinda, trying to watch my thoughts more and more. Okay, it's very hard to watch thoughts. Okay, we all have thoughts come in and out of our mind all the time. So I want to just address this for a minute, because a lot of people ask me the same question. Okay, so how you manifest is based on your belief system. It's not based on your thoughts, because thoughts are very hard to control. So in order to manifest, we have to get to the core of our belief system. And many people don't believe that they deserve anything good to happen to them. And this is where manifestation stops. If you don't believe anything good will happen to you, then nothing good might not happen to you. It might and it might not, but it's not a sure thing. And that is because in the universe, if you don't create your reality every day, and you don't set out to create what you want in life, then the universe will go into the default position, and it will give you whatever it feels like giving you, because you're not setting your intentions to create what you want. So this is how the universe works. So you have to take a look at your belief system and go into the core of your belief system and see where your belief system is giving you what you don't want. And that's how to solve that problem. You know, some of these things I can talk about more and get more specific on other videos. I can talk about maybe one subject and talk about thoroughly about that one subject. I know, because I talk about so many subjects at the same time. All right, also, one other thing that I wanted to mention is time has been speeding up. Now, we have our little dog that's barking at something now. So time has been speeding up again now. Now, for a few weeks ago, time was slowing down, and days were dragging, and now time is speeding up again. The time is going so fast, it's crazy. It's like every day is just, I mean, you look at the clock, it's 2 o'clock, then you look at the clock, it's 6 o'clock, and you don't know where 4 hours went, and it's crazy. And this is part of changing dimensions also. All right, so now let's get to, somebody asked me, one of my followers asked me this question. She said, I felt a shift yesterday, and I could hardly stand up because I got so dizzy. I felt like I was going to fall down. Well, she said, I haven't felt this since 2012. Well, these intense symptoms actually started in 2010. And this is when I started keeping track of all the waves when they were coming in, and the groups of people who were feeling the waves and the groups of people that weren't feeling the waves. And I had a system down where I kept track of all this. And like I said on my last video, when one group of people would feel the wave like August 1st, and the next group of people would feel the wave August 31st. And it would take an entire month for that other group of people to feel the wave. So this is what was happening. Now it's getting closer together. So, and more people are feeling the waves as they come in. But for the follower that asked me the question, I have felt probably over 1,000 at least of these waves coming in since 2012 that made me feel like I was going to fall over. I've talked about them on my page for the last 9 years. So don't be surprised if this happens to you and you just about fall off your chair. And, you know, I've been paralyzed in my chair. 2012, 2013, 2011, and those years, I would be paralyzed to my chair for like an hour and could not move and could not even come out and tell anybody else in my family what was happening to me. So, you know, I had extreme physical symptoms in the Ascension process that we're not getting so much anymore. But I had extreme head pressure, like my head felt like it was in a vice. Okay, and I have not felt this for years, but everybody will have to go through these symptoms. So all the symptoms that I had, everyone will have to go through, and other people had, not just me. So everybody will have to go through these symptoms. And the one that asked me, the follower that asked me the question, she has felt, according to what she said to me, she has felt 2 of these waves come through, one in 2012 and one the other day. Well, she's going to feel more, and she's going to have to feel a lot more. And everybody else will have to feel a lot more too, because it's only through our body and through feeling these waves coming through that our consciousness is raised. And we can't count on sleeping for anything to happen. So we have to try to understand that it has to happen while we're awake. So, because when you get hit with the wave and you feel it happening in your body, then it goes into your consciousness and it raises your consciousness. If you don't feel anything, it's going to be hard for that same process to happen. I know many people like to talk about things happening in their sleep, but I like to, you know, be real, and you have to work on feeling things yourself while you're awake for your consciousness to really be raised. All right, so let's get to some of the questions now that were asked earlier on my page. So my assistant now is going to tell me what they are.
Okay, the first question is from Kat, and she said, I've been seeing figures at the corner of my peripheral vision lately, and the dreams have been more realistic too, possibly have to do with the energy wave sinks. Okay,
this is from Kat, and she says that her dreams have been more realistic, and she's been doing what? Say it again.
Seeing
things out the peripheral vision, yes. So this is part of the starting point of being psychic, is seeing things out of your side peripheral vision. Okay, so this is common. Now, I have been seeing for the past 2 weeks or so, since we did change dimensions, more and more things full on. So I'll walk in my patio door and I'll look at the stove and there'll be a figure just standing there. So then I'll just see things constantly just moving all around my house. And it doesn't matter what house I live in, because I moved like a year ago. So it doesn't matter what house, no matter what house I live in, I'm going to see things from other dimensions. So things are not, things that appear from another dimension, they're not stuck in this house. It's not It's that the person is able to see into another dimension, and dimensions are overlapping. So these dimensions intersect with each other. And so when you raise your consciousness, you're able to see beyond this dimension. So it isn't that the things that I see are living in this house. It's that the dimensions are intersecting with each other like this. So that's how it works.
Okay, Linda said, can you give advice on how we can push through or not get stuck concerning the growing pains of ascension? I'm personally 80% on board and 20% of fear is creeping back in for me to move up and onward. Thank you.
Okay, so Linda asked about how not to get stuck on ascension symptoms. Okay, so first of all, we have to be positive and we have to know that these ascension symptoms are happening for a reason, and that is to raise our consciousness and the collective consciousness. And we need to embrace these symptoms as they come in, even though they're difficult. So the more resistance you put up to these symptoms, the worse it's going to be for you to handle them. So you need to embrace them. So you also need to be grounding every day. And I have a grounding video on my YouTube channel you can check on the technique on how to ground. And this will help a lot. And grounding is the only thing I found, and this started back in 2012 when I had my near-death experience, to stop, to get control of ascension symptoms. And this is why I talk about grounding, and I've always talked about grounding all the time. So grounding will help a lot. Now, for people that work in the 3D world and have to go to work every day, this ascension symptoms are really tough for them. So I always advise them to try to find a job that you really love. Go to a job that you really love, and this will also help a lot, because you don't want to go to a job that you don't like and is, a drudge. So even if your job pays less, you'll have more success at that job long term if you find a job that you're happy at.
Okay.
All right.
Elaine said, how long is this ascension energy is going to last? It's exhausting.
Oh, okay. So Elaine asked how long the ascension energies are going to last. The ascension energies are going to last until enough people reach a higher level of consciousness. And this is why I always talk about how to raise your consciousness, is because it's not only going to benefit me, it's going to benefit everyone. So the more people can reach to a higher level of consciousness, of course that's going to benefit me, because everything is going to become a lot easier in the ascension process, and it's going to benefit everybody else too in the same process.
Okay, Gabrielle said, Diane, thank you for the opportunity to ask about the questions. My back is hurting since about a week ago. It's hurting in waves, not constantly. And then in one of my dreams 2 days ago, I saw a shaman and he was working on me. After I wake up, some inner voice told me that he had done a ceremony on me. Since then, I feel a bit better, but very tired.
Okay, who's this?
Gabrielle.
Okay, Gabrielle. Yes, I talked about my back hurting. And yes, we're having intense dreams right now. We've been having intense dreams for the past month or so. I've talked about this. So just keep track of your dreams. But remember that when you dream, you actually are leaving your body and you're going to another dimension. So the messages aren't always clear, and the messages are just for you. So it takes the person themselves to figure out how this relates to them, because all dreams are symbolic. And yes, I can do dream interpretations, because when I have a session with somebody, I can, know what it is about them that the dream means. But I'm not doing that at this moment. So.
Okay, then Michelle, who's watching you live right now, asked, both my ankles are hurting and burning feet, and I had no injury. Then family all around say their ankles hurt. Is the energy causing this? Yeah,
I would say yes to the ankles. I myself haven't had any ankle pain, but yes, this can be an ascension symptom for sure.
Okay, and then Daisy asked, how do you tell the difference between ascension symptoms and regular symptoms like cold and flu?
All right, so Daisy, hi Daisy. Oops, my cat tried to jump on me. All right. Here,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, here's my cat. She tried to jump on me.
That's Crystal.
Her name's Crystal. Crystal. All right, there we go.
Come on, boo-boo.
All right. So Daisy asked, how do we tell the difference between ascension symptoms and non-ascension symptoms? Okay. A regular cold and flu is not an ascension symptom. So there's a lot of false information out there about what is ascension and what is not. No one is going to get a cold and flu for ascension. So it's going to be something odd, something out of the ordinary, something that you wouldn't normally experience, just like this back pain that came out of nowhere. You know, I don't have any back issues. I've never had any back problems. So after a while, you get to know, you get to understand what's an ascension symptom. And, oh, thank you, Daisy. Yeah, she's beautiful. After a while, you get to know what is an ascension symptom and what is not. And then a lot of people have the same symptoms at the same time. So a lot of people that, you know, contact me and tell me I'm having back pain or I'm having this or whatever they're going through. And so that's another way to tell what's going on, is if everybody around you is having that same thing happen at the same time. But no, it's not going to be regular things like a cold or flu. Yes, it can be headaches, because geomagnetic storms and things can cause headaches also, and we can raise our consciousness during that time also. Okay, somebody else asked about raising their consciousness.
Yeah,
did you see that? Okay.
We always talk, oh, this is from Mimoon. I'm saying it right. We always talk about raising our consciousness. The question is, what can we do daily to raise our level of consciousness?
Okay, you know, this kind of question, like what can we do to raise our consciousness, is complex, because it's kind of like the same question people ask me, what can I do to open my third eye? You know, if I could give you an easy answer, what could you do to open your third eye? Everybody would have their third eye open. So these kind of questions are so complex that I would have to do a class on these questions, okay? I cannot tell you, like, in a live video how to raise your consciousness, because it's very complex. I will give you some things that I've talked about before. Okay, so you have to eliminate your 3D programming. You have to eliminate all your conditioning. You have to eliminate all your illusions that you're under. So your illusions could be about yourself and others. The ego is one big illusion. Many people have a false ego, and a false ego is not based on anything real. So there's a real ego, which is fine to have. If you actually have a skill and you're actually good at something, or you're an expert at something, that's fine to have, because many people need experts in their lives. So if you are going to sell your house, you want to have the best real estate person that you can possibly get to sell your house, and they are considered an expert in that field. If you're going to go to a psychic, yeah, you want to have a psychic that's accurate and reliable. If you want to talk to somebody about higher consciousness, you want to talk to somebody who's already has higher consciousness. So if you already have a skill, yes, it's fine to have an ego, but it's not good to have a false ego, which is what the 3D world gives people. So they don't have any skills really, but they have an ego about themselves, about how great they are. And when people have an ego about how great they are, it's usually based on low self-esteem issues, and they feel bad, so they want to put on a front that they're so great, but really it's because they feel bad about themselves. And that's where the false ego comes in. So all the programming has to be deleted. All the conditioning has to be deleted. All the illusions about yourself and the illusions about others, which is really big, really big. Okay?
Margarita said she's very tired and anxious. Is that normal?
Yeah, oh yes, there's been a lot of anxiety also coming through. Okay, so you may have odd thoughts coming through. You may feel anxious, and this is all because we're upgrading our consciousness and upgrading dimensions. And as the old programs fall off and the old ways of being fall off, the new ways come in, and the new ways don't always feel good. So it takes time and it takes adjustments. So when you have a bad thought come into your mind, and this is what I teach people in my personal sessions. So if a bad thought comes into your mind, or an anxiety-ridden thought comes into your mind, you picture a stop sign right here in your mind. You picture a stop sign and you say stop, okay? And then you overlay it with something good. So then you picture in your mind a picture that you like the beach, a nice Florida beach, palm trees, the sun is out, you're laying in the sun, and you have your crystal, and you're enjoying yourself. You know, you're working with your crystal, you're holding your crystal in the sun. Okay, so this is nice and relaxing. So now if you do this for 30 days, it takes 30 days to form a new habit. So if you do this for 30 days, in 30 days, you will stop having this negative thought come into your mind, or this anxiety-ridden thought come into your mind, and instead you'll overlay it with something nice and sweet. But you have to do it every time the thought comes in, because many times we're our own worst enemy. And this is because the subconscious mind is at work, not the conscious mind. So the subconscious mind is a layer below the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is actually the one in control until you learn how to control it, which I did many years ago. So you have to learn how to control your subconscious mind. Okay, if for many things, if you want to be able to manifest, if you want to get the job you want, if you want to have a better life, if you want to get what you feel that you deserve in life, for anything, you're going to have to get control of your subconscious mind.
Okay, Belinda said, what is the cause for me to be walking through thick plasma, thick air like sludge a lot of my days?
I don't. She'll have to go into more detail on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have skin rashes from Echo a couple weeks ago. It was after my water fast. Did that happen to anybody else? And really itchy, flaking skin every month or so.
Well, allergies are common in Ascension also. Okay, you know, I have become allergic to so many things. I've become allergic to so many things now since 2010. My allergies are off the charts. So, you know, you may have to do a lot of things that you didn't do before. And, you know, I check the ingredients. Every time I go to the store and I buy anything, I check all ingredients at the store. And I could really have a problem if I eat the wrong thing. So I have to be very careful about everything that I eat. And this is common for also my family members. They're having now to do the same thing.
Be careful of flax. A lot of people have flax allergies.
And a lot of these things that are supposed to be good for you, they're not always good for you. So I would suggest if you're trying anything new, to try it in like 1/4 of a teaspoon and see how your body reacts. Because you can have a really violent reaction to just some, you know, ingredient that's put into anything now. So if you're trying anything with a new ingredient, try 1/4 of a teaspoon first and then work your way up.
Okay, Karen Sue said, I have high-pitched ringing in my ears. Is this part of the changes happening?
Oh yeah, high-pitched ringing. Yes, that's very common. Yes, that's been going on for many years now.
Okay, and Liliana says, I sleep 12 to 13 hours from the beginning of July until now. And for me, it's not normal. How long will I stay like this?
Sleeping a long time. We can go through periods where we either sleep too much or we don't get enough sleep, or our sleep is broken up. So I go through those same periods, and this will go on as long as it goes on, and we can't have resistance toward these things. So we just have to accept that they're all part of the ascension process and get through them the best we can. And we need to sleep when we can. So we can't be too much in the 3D world. We have to be in our own world and take time for ourselves and love ourselves enough to give ourselves what we need. So we need to go into our sacred spot if we need to and do what we need to do to recharge. And if we need to sleep 12, 14 hours a day and then take a nap, that's what we need to do. So we need to do the best we can get through this, and we need to ground as much as we can. So you can watch my video on grounding that's on my YouTube channel, and you can ground up to 10 times a day, and that will help.
Okay, Melanie says, I have received what I feel is a strong message about a few weeks ago. It scared me because it was focused on the word pandemic. I then received an image in my head of the picture of a book that I bought 10 years ago and never read. I went to my bookshelf and there it was, and it was about pandemics. I don't know what this means and what to do with this information other than maybe read the book. Is there another possible interpretation of this, and I didn't get the message clearly?
Okay, so what's the name?
Melanie.
All right, so Melanie asked the question about pandemic, And she saw, how did she first come across pandemic? She saw it in a dream.
She got a strong message about pandemic.
Okay,
focused on the word pandemic.
So it depends on, Melanie, it's going to depend on how you got the message. If you got it in a dream, it's different than if you would get it a regular message. But now you also have to look at how many messages you're getting that are actually accurate to know that if the pandemic message is accurate. Because if you get a lot of messages and they don't mean anything, then that's really not very good odds of that meaning anything. So now, so I don't know enough about this because I don't know exactly how you got the message, but I guess you didn't say it was in a dream, and I don't know your track record for getting messages. But if you get a message that's based on fear, I would say don't worry about it, because we don't want messages that are in fear. I don't get fear-based messages, and I don't, if they try to come in, I don't listen to them because I'm not going to live my life in fear, okay, because that's not self-loving.
Melanie said she was awake when it happened.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm not going to live my life in fear, and I'm not going to have people from other realms giving me fear-based messages, and then I have to freak out and do this and do that, and I'm not going to do that. Just like I don't see any ETs or anything that are negative. Everything that I see is all positive, and it's all uplifting. So you have to, maybe tell your guides that you don't want to get any more negative messages, because pandemic sounds really negative.
Okay, Mark said double and triple numbers have really amped up, seeing them 30 times a day. This happens to me a lot, but not this many. Why so many at the moment?
Okay, say that again.
Double and triple numbers have really amped up. So he's seeing 11, 11, and 12, 12
Okay.
A lot. He usually sees it a lot, but not this much. Why so much right now?
All right, so I saw 7-11 for years. It's funny, the only number I really ever saw was 7-11, and that went on like in the 90s, something like that. And when I started developing myself spiritually and psychic experiences started happening to me, that went away. So to me, that is a sign that you need to work to develop yourself, and that these things are not coincidences, and that the universe is talking to you, telling you to raise your consciousness, just like it did with me, and to work on raising your consciousness. And that, to me, is the message of repeating numbers. You see repeating numbers all the time. So now you want to be in self-love all the time, and you don't want to be disempowered. So you want to have the universe working for you. So if you see all these numbers and they're distracting to you, then you don't want that either. So it's fine to see the numbers, but then work on developing yourself.
Okay, Belinda is trying to explain better about walking through the muddy feeling. She says, when I walk, it feels like thick air, like I'm walking through it all day, like it bogs me down when I move, almost like walking in water. Okay,
Belinda, I haven't heard this about walking through thick air. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It doesn't mean other people won't feel it, but I haven't heard this from anybody else. So I'd say just keep track of it. Find out what's been happening before or after, what's taking place before or after, and if there's anything else associated with it.
Okay, Brenda says tones are abundant for years, but who is toning me?
Okay, let's not.
Yeah, that sounds personal.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarabi
Yes.
says it feels like ascension symptoms change and move throughout the body and are different with each wave. Is this because we are purging more layers?
Sarabi, yes, I talked about this at the beginning of the video. So yeah, maybe you came in late. So I talked about that every wave that comes in is different, and every wave will access a different layer, because we've already gone through many layers of cleansing ourselves of things that are not the truth, things that are not self-loving, our dark side, our shadow side. So with each wave, this is why I always talk about geomagnetic storms and waves being energy specific. Okay, so I'm really against these long lists people write of like 20, you may feel these 20 different symptoms. No, each one energy wave has like 2 or 3 specific things, and it's there to work on specific things. You know, we might feel specific things, and it's there to work on specific things for us. So yes, that's right.
That's it. There are no more questions.
All right. So as of now, oh, okay. What is the vertigo? Jody Jones says, what is the vertigo? Okay. The vertigo came in for me at in about 2015. And I had about 2 weeks of that. And then it left for a month. And then it was back again for about a week. So you'll get through it. It's definitely an ascension symptom, but it's hitting everybody at different times. Like I said before, everybody will have to go through the same thing at one time or another. So what I experienced back in 2012, people may just now be experiencing that for themselves. Okay, just like the vertigo, I experienced that 4 years ago. So people might just now be experiencing that. Okay, what about Gabrielle?
With my back hurting since almost a week, is that ascension symptom? And the dream of a ceremony by a shamanic older man working on me by sending me healing, is that something that people experience?
Okay, so Gabrielle, yes, I talked about the back hurting. My own back is hurting. So my back is actually even hurting right now. So I decided to do the video even though I have back pain. So, and the dream of a ceremony by a shamanic older man working on me, sending me healing. That, you know, anybody could experience that. That's not anything that I've heard. But yes, you should pay attention to that. And you should, you know, it sounds like this was something that happened real. So yes, you should pay attention, and you should honor that and give thanks to the shaman who was working on you, and ask him to come again. If you liked it, ask him to come into your dreams again. And that's something you can always do to work on with your dreams, is that what you don't like, you can get rid of. You can tell them, no, I don't want that to come around anymore. That's setting boundaries. And what you do like, you can ask to see more of. So if you have a relative or friend that has passed over and you want to see them, you would do the same thing. I'm not going to get into like mediumship and psychic abilities too much here, but you could do the same thing. So you could ask your relative to, before you go to sleep at night, to come and visit you. And you have to keep asking many times sometimes for it to happen. With me, it'll happen spontaneously. I will see my own relatives, but I'll also see all of my clients' relatives also. But for people that have had someone passed on, it's best to look at their picture before you go to bed. And because looking at their picture brings their energy into you. So look at their picture before you go to bed and ask them to come in, because they have to come down in dimension to reach us, and we have to go a little bit up. So it's not easy for them to come down, but if you ask them to, because they can hear everything that you say to them. So if you ask them to come down, they will come down, and you can move up while you're sleeping, and then you can meet halfway.
Liliana said, can you give me some advice on how I can connect to speak to learn light language?
No, I don't talk much about light language, because the ETs and everything that I have been in contact with talk telepathically. So no, I don't know much about that. No. Okay, so Adriana.
Diane, what's your advice on dealing with anxiety?
Right, so anxiety, you need to get to the core issue of where your anxiety is coming from. Right now, we're having a lot of anxiety coming in with the ascension waves. But all dysfunctional behavior in people, you can trace back to a core issue that happened in your past. So I would sit down and figure out, you know, I'm trying to tell you in a short amount of time here, but sit down and figure out what happened in your past to bring this anxiety on. I once had a horrible issue with anxiety, and it was way back in 2000. Normally I don't get any anxiety at all, but I had a horrible issue with anxiety, and guess what? It was traced back to my past. And there was an issue that happened when I was a teenager, and it was unresolved because I was a teenager, and I didn't deal with that issue. So I had to go back and deal with that issue, and I had to completely heal it and cleanse it, and then my anxiety left. So that would be the same thing that I would advise for you. Go back and see what it's tied to in the past. Okay, right now we don't have any other questions. I'm going to stay on here for a few minutes. Yeah, we have another. This is our puppy. It's a long-haired Chihuahua. Oh, you're so cute. Look at you. You're so cute. So obviously I'm an animal lover, as you can see. So I'm a tree lover, animal lover, nature lover, crystal lover, earth lover, lover of all things. All right, now Daisy is asking about anxiety. Okay, Daisy. I would not look at anything having to do with the past life, because the person had the past life to solve that, and I would only work on things having to do with this life, and then once you've solved everything from this life, then you can go back to the past life and solve that. Okay, so we have this life to solve the things that are going on with this life now. So I once helped somebody that had a boyfriend that they broke up, their boyfriend had broken up with them, and the girl tried to blame it on a past life. Well, that was her way of just copying out of it on it. No, her boyfriend broke up with her for a totally different reason that had to do with her and his relationship. And so that was her way of not dealing with her issue that she had with him and his issue that he had with her. So that was her way of deflecting it and trying to get out of it. So we're all responsible for the relationships that we have, and we all have our part in the relationships, and it's up to us to be responsible for our part in any failed relationship. So the best thing she could have done is to go back and figure out what happened in that relationship. Did she not love herself enough? Because that's very often the cause of relationships splitting up, and many women do not love themselves enough. So that could have been the cause. And I've had many, just as an off subject since I'm on here now, I've had many women come to me and say, I did everything for my man and he left me. Well, this is not the way to have a relationship with a man. So just as a side note, you don't want to be a doormat for anyone else. You have your own life to live, and the man has his life to live. And no man wants a doormat anyway. So just as a note to all women out there, women have struggled with self-esteem issues, with empowerment issues, and loving themselves enough. And this is something that I focus on with women in my personal sessions. And because this happens because we live in a 3D society, and the 3D society caters to the patriarchal part of it that we're also dealing with. So this leaves women as many times unsupported and feeling low self-esteem even from birth. And they don't have the self-esteem that they should have. But all this is changing now as we move into the higher dimensions. Women are being acknowledged for the qualities that they do have that are not like men's qualities, but they're just as important. In fact, they're many times more important to be able to tap into your own feelings.
Diana said, how to deal with cutting cords with toxic family during Ascension.
Okay. So who asked this?
Diana.
Okay, so Diana asked how to deal with cutting cords with toxic family during Ascension. Okay, so if somebody is toxic, you will want to limit your time around them. And you have to learn how to love them from afar. So you can keep in contact with them, but keep only in short contact with them. All right, because a lot of family members do want to throw toxic energy onto other family members, so we don't want that. If we're self-loving, we're not going to accept other people's negative energy that doesn't have anything to do with us. Okay, now Belinda asked, why is our skin shimmering now like diamonds? Okay, so I will do another whole video on this because I have a whole list of things not just that is happening to everyone. And this started back in 2012, so this is not something new. So I have a whole list of things that you might experience have to do with Ascension that are not regular things, like the people that put the 20 item list out. They are not regular things. They are odd things that have happened to me and have happened to maybe a few other people. And these are things you might experience. So now I feel I can put this out that enough people have joined the Ascension process that people may get something more out of it than they would have before, where they wouldn't understand it. Because I've had people actually tell me that they didn't understand anything I was talking about because they weren't consciously where I was. So I have to make sure that people are to the right level so they can understand what I'm saying.
Sounds like Salvatore needs a personal session.
Okay, so Salvatore just asked, he has not had a girlfriend for 30 years. What should I do? Okay, Salvatore, you need to book a personal session with me. I think I've told you that before. So I can't discuss that here. Obviously, there's issues going on. So, men and women, that whole thing is hard anyway. It's not easy because we're almost like complete different species sometimes, for men and women to be able to get along with each other. So that is not easy, and that's going to take a personal session with me. I understand that, like for Salvador, somebody is saying something else, enjoy the freedom. Yes, but I understand because it can be lonely here if you're all by yourself. It could be a lonely life. So yes, I understand why everybody wants to meet somebody else and get together with somebody, because otherwise this earth life, this is why I say be more sociable and get yourself out there talking to other people.
Or get a nice dog. Or get a nice dog.
Yeah, or get a pet. Right. Or get more than one pet. Right.
However many it takes. Right.
I have many pets. So, all right. Any other questions? Because it's been, how long has it been?
Close to an hour.
Okay, it's been close to an hour. My back is still hurting here, and I'm sitting in an uncomfortable chair. It says new comment. Yeah, Belinda, I will probably do an article and a live video on this because it's so intense. All the things that a person might experience. All right, so that's it. My website is dianecampfield.com. I have a YouTube channel, which this will also be posted on. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter. So, yes, Gabriel, yes, everybody can see the live video afterwards. Yes, you can watch it from beginning to end. All right, so I plan on doing more live videos because I feel everyone needs more personal, what we call it, personal interaction, like what I'm giving everyone. I feel in the Ascension process now, everybody needs that more. So that's why I wanted to do these live videos, and I feel like people need more now. So this is why I'm doing them. I'm trying to give people more of what they need to help them raise their consciousness, because as they raise their consciousness, it'll help all of us. All of us, it will help. So that's great. So it was lovely to talk to all of you, and I will see you either on my page or at the next live video. Love you.